We back up in this thing. You can't roll with us if your last name don't got no loyalty. Podcast party poppin', but you already knew. I've been rolling with these folks. This that Monday night crew. Millennials versus the world like. Millennials versus the world like you. Millennials versus the world like. Millennials versus the world like you. Millennials versus the world. Millennials versus the world like you. Millennials versus the world like. Millennials versus the world like you.
Yo, what's happening, good people, man? Welcome to episode 4 of the Last Name Loyalty Marathon, man. It's your boy K.Mims, the only spot you get authenticity and entertainment at the same time. I got my bro B-Dot from Last Name Loyalty. What's happening, man?
What up? How you doing?
We got a very special panel tonight full of wellness professionals, man. I want to go one by one, give everybody their flyers, man. We have Dr. B from Forest Therapeutics. What's happening, good brother?
Everybody, how you doing? I'm happy to be here.
Appreciate you. His brother and partner, Dr. Lakieth Sutton from Forest Therapeutics. How you feeling, brother?
Maintain, survive, and get to be here.
Appreciate you for coming through. My dog for a long time, Dope Soul in the Space. Salute on your recent panel that you did. Dr. Ashley Elliott, better known as Dr. Vivid. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Always good to be in the space with you, my man.
For sure. All right, last but certainly not least, from the Heart to Heart Wellness Center, Dr. Gigi Bell. How you feeling?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
For sure. So this episode is called Wellness Check, man. We're gonna get into a couple of things, nothing too crazy. The goal is just to have a conversation around mental health. You know, that's one of those things where we're trying to normalize it more and more every day. Us millennials have been in a space where, you know, it's cool, but we're not all the way there yet. So just trying to push things to that level. But before we get to the serious part, I got a video that I want to play recently that LeBron did on, I don't know whose podcast it was on, but LeBron went out there, kind of spoke about his view on marriage. So I want to play it, kind of get you all's reaction, and then we can kind of go from there.
To be alone, that's for damn sure. I know I don't want to be alone, that's for damn sure. So if I got to fight, crawl, scratch, fight, whatever to keep mine, I got to keep it. I got to do what I got to do. I don't want to be alone. I'm an only child, single parent household. I knew for sure. When I met my homies for the first time when I was 7, 8 years old, we started playing sports. And I got around them and we started traveling, playing sports. I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then when I got with Vanna, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. Oh, this is amazing. I love this. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Next time I'm alone, be up underneath, champ.
All right, so this is my question. Like, respect to LeBron, everything he does, all the great things. I'm not getting into that. When I heard it, what I thought about is, to me, they say when you get in therapy, most things you're healing from your childhood, most things that you go through that you got to undo is from your childhood. Can a trauma response be something positive? So the way he's like, I don't want to be alone. I'm scratching and clawing for my marriage. I want to be here. Is that something where it could still be rooted in a childhood trauma, but it comes out as a positive result in adulthood? That's what I want to know.
It's how it's being phrased. Can a trauma response be positive? Your bodily reaction to trauma is a survival mechanism. So that means that something intense really, really happened to where your brain remembered that, yeah, we don't want to go through that again. So therefore, anything, depending on how the trauma is encoded, it can generalize. So it can be a bad thing and it can be a protective thing. A protective thing sounds like a better way of saying it. Like, for instance, in his scenario, it sounds like it's more of a protective thing. It's a bad thing when it's overgeneralized. For instance, it takes one little aspect of the event and go, okay, that is going to look like trauma, even though it's not. But to answer your question, I think that because it's more from a protective place of not wanting to be alone, because connection is important to human beings. We thrive and we grow off of connection. As a matter of fact, we've only survived as a species because we got together in small pockets of communities, formed groups, developed cultures and society. So to answer your question, Kay, it's yes, you can seek something positive on the backside of a really bad event, in my opinion.
Yeah. If I could come in there.
Come on.
Because Dr. B definitely gave those guidelines for like the definitions very well. I think a lot in a lot of instances, when we hear someone go through something, we assume that their response to survival has to be something negative, when in fact it could be just knowing the reaction and knowing the things that I went through. And like Dr. B said, I don't want to go back. So in this case, instead of some other people in his situation may be like, well, I've been alone all my life, and that's how I'm going to go through it, because nothing good has come to me from trying to seek those things out. It can be really destructive in relationships or avoiding in relationships. And on the opposite, he said no. And I love the way he said, once he figured out how it felt from a young age, he was like, well, I don't want that anymore. This is something that I'm going to actively pursue, and I long for this. And I love to hear a man say that, because we don't get a lot of clips like that in the media when it comes to talking about marriage and connection or friendships. Like we said, we're born, and come into this world. We're technically not even alone there. We come in a vessel, and you have to be in that vessel in order to survive. We need other vessels to be able to survive, to be able to play off of, to be able to learn from. So in this situation, he's put himself in situations actively forever, playing basketball in a team for forever, doing things like the barbershop series things he does. He's purposely pursuing those connections so that he won't ever have to be reminded of that heaviness associated with his trauma. Sounds like a good coping strategy to me.
It's just, sometimes, but I'm going to get to you, Dr. Lakieth and Dr. Bell. I think sometimes when you hear coping or you hear somebody say, I don't ever want to go to that, it got a negative touch to it when you say coping. You know what I mean? In my personal opinion, is when you use the word coping, or when it's typically used, we think of some of the other not so healthy ways of coping. So normalizing something that's positive is something that I I like, because I'm married. I feel the same. I don't necessarily, it doesn't stem from the same place, but I feel the same way. So I agree with that. But sorry, brother Lakeith, I'm going to go to you last. Dr. Bell, you got any thoughts on or want to speak on the video?
Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of to your point, is broadening our perspective and our scope of what wellness looks like, right? Because it is not a negative space to have coping skills. It's an absolutely positive thing to have a coping skill. The coping skill is response to maybe a negative thing or a negative trigger, but the coping skill in and of itself is absolutely positive. Additionally, I think something else we're talking about here is learned behaviors, right? So I think sometimes when we talk about trauma responses in that way, to your point, that may have a negative connotation, what we're really talking about is this man is talking about learned behaviors that he has now that are positive, that can be traced back to something that may not have been positive, but now he has learned how to navigate in a way that is more conducive to what he wants his life to look like. So learned behaviors are a beautiful thing when they're positive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know.
And when I was listening to it, for me personally, I feel like depending on what your perspective is or what your area is, you can interpret it either way. I could understand how some people may hear that and say, so is he saying he's afraid to be alone? That he'll fight, claw just to have someone around in the effort to not be alone, and how that can kind of read as like, okay, well, that sounds like a trauma response. But then on the other side, I hear a very much healed response to where as though he's had this adverse childhood experience where he learned that connection is very important to him. It is a part of his value system. And so by any means necessary, and I don't think he necessarily means it in the sense of like, oh, I'm just gonna keep people around for the sake of keeping people around. He's saying that if I have meaningful connections in my life, which is that with my wife and my children, I will always fight to keep those connections and keep them thriving and keep them healthy, because my adverse experience has taught me or informed my value system that healthy connections is how I thrive. It is how I live. So in listening to it, I hear a very evolved man who's just saying that, look, out of everything in my life, my relationships are the most important thing to me.
Oh, fire. Do you all believe, so you all said this, and then we're going to jump to a question. I heard all of you say, I heard all of you allude to, being with somebody, or the premise of being with somebody is togetherness, connection. We need it. Does that connection, this is not solely to LeBron or the marriage thing, does that connection always look like a romantic or intimate connection in order for humans to fill that void? because we're talking about this man and his wife and his kids. But when we talk about connection or coming in community, do y'all feel like it always have to be, you know, love or like, I shouldn't say love, but like romantic to like a partner versus I have really good friends. I have really good family. That's where my connections come from. That's where I feel good at. Is there a difference between that type of love and does it give a different feel, I guess I'm trying to say, versus a partner?
Well, I would say to that, the Greeks defined love by 4 different words because they understood that love exists in many different facets. So romantic love is probably one of the most intense loves that you could have. I will say that one of the most powerful ones, but it's not the only one. And it doesn't diminish those other loves as far as like your friends, family in the context of siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, love for animals and things like that. I don't think love is one of those things that's monolithic. It expands and it has to have different connections. And for some people in their life, let's be transparent, romantic love just does not work out for them. Whether that's because factors within themselves to where they're not able to access it or maintain it, or because the opportunities never present themselves. So that feeling of connection has to expand in other arenas. So then they end up having more meaningful relationship with their best friends or meaningful relationships with the family that they grew up with or the adopted family that they take in. So connections and love, it just doesn't exist in a romantic sense. It exists in a very broad, wherever you find that fulfillment, that connection in a sense.
And to piggyback off of what Q said, like he said it earlier in his example, as long as it's a meaningful connection. Like Keith's right, Greeks had a more robust language than we do as English speakers, but different categories of connection serve different purposes. Like for instance, when you get together with your friends, women are by and large, way better at this than men are. But when you get together with your friends, that's a different type of connection where you're sitting around, you're talking, you're chit-chatting, you're catching up and things like that. That's a different type of connection. And of course, then when you're at home with your significant other, having a good time, building memories and things like that, both tend to produce healing to a person, but they do it in a different way. Connection in and of itself, when it's a positive and meaningful one, even when it's not intimate partner, it helps to repair, rebuild the body. It helps to decrease stress. There's so many wellness benefits to connection with friends, connection with your church, connection with your neighbor down the street, whatever it means. But to answer your question, I just wanted to echo what Keith said, that if it's a meaningful connection and whatever capacity that looks like for you, because it's always going to be subjective in many cases, it doesn't always have to be like an intimate partner one. It could be just however or wherever you find it and what you do with it.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I'm triple piggybacking what my brothers have said. You know, I think, and it's something I talk about in sessions with my clients too. I try to get them to diversify their love portfolio because you can't, it's better for you to experience those different types of love. So when you experience a loss or you experience a transition in anything, you can be able to say, oh, well, this hasn't completely shattered me to this point where I become disenchanted with the idea of connecting with people. I always tell my friends, we have a joke, me and my BFF, I love you, you're my almost everything. And the joke is you can't be my everything because you are one person. And you need to explore what it feels like to have great familial love, what it feels like to have a true platonic love, a love that does not require the same level of certain emotional tears with a romantic love. You need to be able to experience a spiritual love, whether that be in church or a spiritual group or all those things. They feed you differently, and they also give you the room to have healthier relationships so that you're not trying to put this onus on one person to show up on in every way, in every aspect of your life, in order for you to feel like this is real love, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, 1000%. 1000%. All right, so Dr. Bell, do you have anything on that before we move on to the questions that we got for tonight's show?
Just adding, I think to Dr. Elliott's point, therapy sessions, I can't tell you how many clients have come to therapy very specifically because they were feeling despondent around not finding that romantic partner yet. And the lack of control that we have over whether or not we're going to be in love with this perfect person, right? I mean, that's a journey. So being able to find spaces where you are connected and rooted really meaningfully in other domains of your life is vastly important to your mental health.
Yeah, for sure. Dot, you got anything, bro, before we go on? You muted.
I don't have anything on this one.
Okay. All right. That's a bet. All right. So we're going to jump out there a little bit on this first one, man. Just a little slight jump, not too far. You know what I'm saying? So my first question is not saying it's one or the other. Do you all feel like where we are at currently with social media, a lot of buzzwords, a lot of therapists may be creating content and not practicing, or whatever the case may be? Do you think therapy is becoming a trend in our community more so than a tool? Meaning people love saying that they're going. People mean they may go, but they're not really utilizing it to get better. Do y'all think where we are currently, you're seeing it in your experiences or what you see, is it becoming more of a trend, or is it we're utilizing a tool in the right way?
Why did you pick this question? Because I'm your favorite fun size, pint size, travel size social media therapist.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Just a little
You
bit.
don't like what you said. Okay.
Hey, Dr. Vivian, I was waiting for you to introduce yourself that way.
I'm a little tired. I forgot who I was for a minute.
Go ahead.
You know, as your favorite fun size, pint size, travel size social media therapist, actual clock it, doctor of clinical psychology, I'm gonna tell you this. Like, I don't think it's we therapy is being the trend. I think the trend is self-help at this current juncture. And when people use certain therapeutic terms that they feel are aligned with therapy, people are more inclined to say, oh, yeah, you spitting. I like what you're saying. And they gravitate towards it. But after the buzzwords, they don't do the work to see why. How does this person even know? You know, is this person advocating because of life experience? Is this person just on here because they may have the gift of gab, you know? Or is this person a mental health provider, a health educator that can actually give me solid information? I think after like the shutdown and everything that happened with the pandemic, it left a lot of people scrambling for ways to enhance their life, improve their life, especially because I keep saying we messed up, y'all. The socialization is terrible. After they say open the doors back up, it's terrible. So people are looking for these ways that don't feel systemic. So it feels easy to go on social media, and that's why I do what I do, to give you that other option. It feels easy to go on social media and be like, oh, this doesn't feel like heavy, like real therapy, but I'm working on myself. And I think the problem there is you have people who say anything for clickbait or rage bait, or use an experience that they had and generalize it and have the masses going. That's why everybody thinks. You know how many times I'm asked in therapy, if my client, they're like, do you think I'm autistic? No, you're not. You done watched 5 TikToks about this one symptom, and now you think, if I had $1 for every person who told me, I saw this TikTok and I think I'm autistic, I saw this TikTok, I think I have ADHD, I saw this TikTok, I think I'm my boyfriend's a narcissist. I think they get these buzzwords going, and they are so hooked on the way the person delivers the information that they are persuaded to believe that this gotta be me, you know. And it's the perfect sale, because our attention spans are so warped that in a 30 seconds to a minute and 30, I can sell you whatever, and you are really on it. Now I got clients coming to me with 50 different videos talking about something. How you know? It's a doctor right there. What you mean how I know? I'm working for a long time. You know, so it's not, I don't think it's a trend. Therapy is a trend. I think it's trendy to fall into therapeutic fads.
Yeah, I think self-diagnosis, like Dr. Vivian was saying, that's a very common thing. And no, I don't think that it is a trend. Like research shows that millennials and Gen Zers are by and large going to therapy. I think that, how do I want to say this properly? That it's hard to find a therapist that fits you. Like if you're Black and you're looking for a Black therapist, you know, I mean this with all love and care, but it's kind of like good luck. Keep trying. If your first one doesn't quite connect, people kind of treat therapy like, I didn't work out the first time, but then they might give up, and we have to encourage them, and you have to keep looking for one that connects with you. So I don't think that it's a trend, but I do think that the options and access to it can be very limited. And when I say limited access, I mean most people don't know that getting a therapist is just as simple if they take insurance as going to your primary care doctor. You just got to find one in network versus knowing when one's out of network. I think it's a trend when it comes to like overall societal politics. Like we will use mental health as an excuse and then not invest in it. I think that is a trend. Like literally, they just cut, what is it, more people from SAMHSA, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services. They just literally made more slashes while the government is furloughed. So I don't think that it's a trend among people, especially among millennials and especially among Black people. I think everybody is actually going to therapy. I think that it's scapegoated as a trend from times. And I think that what we will see online is what Dr. Vivid said. People will go and look at clinicians online. And it's not to disrespect another clinician online, but there is a difference between a clinician that practices versus one that hasn't practiced in a while, or one that practices and one that just teaches primarily. So they'll go online, but even in that context, they'll go online, they'll see a 30-minute clip and think, oh, wow, that fits me. Well, anything fits you in 30 seconds if you listen the right way. If you squint your eyes and turn your head sideways, of course, it's like the zodiac sign. Of course, your zodiac matches you.
I hate that so much. Yeah, bro.
But there's more nuance to diagnosing. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
for anybody looking at a self-diagnosis is risky because there's context within it. There's a time frame. There's when it's connected with other things. You have to rule other things out before you give a diagnosis. But no, I don't think it's trending. I think it's a actual thing. I think there are barriers that keep it from being very prominent, though, within our particular community. One is lack of options for therapists and lack of access or knowledge how to access a therapist.
And also, we have to keep in mind that pop psychology has always been a thing.
Yeah, Dr.
Right?
Phil.
So ever since Freud, and he came out with his psychosexual stages, and people were just kind of enticed by the provocative language, oral phase, anal phase, phallic phase, right? It's always been something that people take out of context and they put in magazines or they put in movies, but they want to focus on one particular diagnosis and take it out of context. All of your fatal attractions, obsessions, play misties for me, whatever version of someone stalking somebody, there's a fascination with mental health. So that's always been something that's been a part of the work that we do in mental health. It's always been a sensationalized component of it that's completely taken out of context. It's just that social media is the new innovation within pop psychology. Now it reaches people in a completely different way that gives people a platform to either do one or two things. One, actually educate the people on mental health disorders and how to cope and how to manage. And then other people who catch on to certain words and go to Google or whatever or Psychology Today online, find an article, talk about it for 10 minutes or 5 minutes in the post, and then go crazy with it. So my way of saying, in a way, there's always been a trendiness that comes with what it is that we do, and that's never going to go away. It just seems that now it's just more accessible because these lovely devices that we can't take ourselves away from and follow us around in a way that no other device ever has really makes it more obvious in the way that it wasn't before.
Yeah, makes me think of WebMD. Y'all remember when everybody was Googling all their symptoms and everybody had cancer or something else? I mean, it's not different than that. I mean, nothing really is new, right? It's always just an evolution of something previous. And I think there are positives, right? Like when you are able to access information, I think, increases that familiarity that is the bridge where people are actually reaching out to one of us to actually make that appointment. Sometimes it is because they watch some of those TikToks like Dr. Vivid said. So I think there's some positives to it. It's just the guardrails around the safety of not self-diagnosing and not amplifying things in a way that make you feel like you're in a worse space than you are. Most of my teenagers have fully diagnosed themselves to being like, they need to be hospitalized. And you're like, no, that's actually incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all think with our go ahead, Doc. I'm sorry, brother.
No, I don't want to be a dead horse, but the self-diagnosis thing is just like with social media, it's easy to self-diagnose because once you like that one video, now it's down your timeline.
Yeah.
And now it's in your head. And like you said, with the when you start listening those words, you're listening to those words and you're applying it to yourself, and now you got these issues that you probably really didn't have, or it wasn't that big of a deal, but now you do. And scrolling and all these different therapists online and non-therapists online that want to be therapists, now they're in my head, and it's a lot easier to scroll than it is to do that research and find a actual therapist who is actually going to give me this good and true and real advice. So that self-diagnosis and social media, I wouldn't call it a trend, but can be a problem.
Yeah, and I think I agree. I'm not gonna shake the boat too much. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna shake the boat too much. I think it has, but the only thing that I would say has become a trend around therapy is like people utilizing it for the catalyst of a requirement for a relationship. And what I mean is like people try to oversell what the other person better be doing without knowing anything about them. And therapy, or when have you seen a therapist, or your childhood things that people may not know yet, have become like this somewhat of a conversation before we even pay for the ticket yet. Like, I don't even know if you like me yet, but you asking me, am I in all these things? Now, am I saying that it's bad that you have those questions? No, but I think a lot of times with therapy, which people don't understand, is like when I went, it was cool the first couple of times when they get to know you till they start telling you about yourself. And then when you got to accept the stuff that they telling you about yourself, and then you got to go work on the stuff that they saying, and they challenging you, and you think it's supposed to be like, you know what, I'm in therapy, this feel good. Nah, sometimes you come out of there like, oh, dog, what am I doing? But I said that to say, I think somebody, and that's not everybody's experience, right? So I think some people who's going through that process, some people who's done that, it's a tool, but I do feel like some people hold on, like I went 2 sessions, I'm healed now. Now what you in therapy on? What have you done? Where have you been? And I'm like, they
Keena,
just
that is a
last
thing.
name.
Hey, that is a what you said. That is a thing that when you said I've been twice and that was it. Yeah, like you didn't do the work though. Like there's a process where you have to do the work, and now that you went and done it, you feel like you're okay. But then it to that part right there, it only works when you want to do it. Like, you have to want to do it. In regards to what you're saying to that person that went twice, now they're like, now everybody else got to do it too. No, therapy does not work if you don't want to do it. Like if I'm sitting down with B-Dot and B-Dot feel like I don't need to be here, then he ain't gonna be here. He here because his lady might have said it. Hey, you need to go to therapy. All right, I came twice. I don't need it. It ain't working. It works when you want it to work. Meaning, what you put in is what we're going to help you transform and get to your goals to have a positive outcome. So, what you're saying, in my opinion, is a thing. Some people go to therapy because they think it's a good idea, and I'm all for that. I'd rather you come, try it, didn't need it, and keep going versus not. But then also there's some people coming because, yes, to your point, Keenan, that someone told me to come here and I don't think nothing's really wrong. Well, if I'm doing a phone consultation with somebody and this was a real thing, it was a potential couple that didn't turn into a couple. She wanted to come to therapy. Then I spoke to him. He said, I don't want to do it. I don't think I need to do it. It's not for me, and I don't want to. Then I told him, if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Don't have no one force you to go through this process if you don't want to do it. And he said, I appreciate it. I'm gonna go tell her she can come meet with you one-on-one if she wants to, but I just don't feel like being there because it would have just been a waste of everybody's time. So I just wanted to point out that yes, Keenan, what you're describing is a thing.
It's definitely a thing. I hear it. It's just as played as the $200 date debate on social media.
Don't get me started on that.
It gets that way. There are people, I want to what Dr. B said about like your intention has to be there. It can't just be like, I want to do it. You have to have the right intention when you're going to therapy. If your intent is to make people be quiet, you're going to go to therapy for 2 sessions and you're going to say, y'all got to be quiet because I went, but that person isn't doing, like we said, where they're not doing the work. There are some people who go, Lord, I've had consultations where I had to tell people, bruh, no, you cannot. So, well, if I come and I talk to you, then can you tell my girl? What? No. First of all, that's not how this works. Secondly, what are you doing? What am I telling her? I said, think about it. What am I telling her? Are you just doing something to appease her social, put her off the table, or you really want to understand where she thinks she's coming from or what you need to do? You may get in the room and say, I don't want to talk about none of these things. I want to talk about this and this, which happens most of the time in couples therapy. When you break them apart, they have totally different perspectives on why they need to do X, Y, and Z. But I think that, and the operative thing you said was healed. I always correct people. There's no such thing as healed. There is consistent healing, because there will be you're not completely healed from things. There's always going to be a chance that you're hurt or something reopens, or you go through something that gives you some type of emotional, spiritual, physical damage. So the process of therapy is not to make sure that you're healed. It's to give you the tools to be able to handle your healing so you won't infect yourself or other people, you know? And I think that, like, when we talk about the whole what you bring to the table, you want the therapy. I don't ask if you go to therapy. Like, I'm actively dating. I will say, what do you do to manage your self-care? What do you do to make sure that you're pouring into yourself? What are you working on, or what growth are you focused on right now? And you can say therapy for one of those things or all of those things. But the key is, I got the cheat code because I'm Dr. Ashley. I want to hear what else you're doing practically and on your own consistently to show that, yes, I am an adult who is taking mature routes to handle myself socially, individually, and platonically, romantically with the people that I come in contact with.
So,
and
go ahead. That's why we're here. Go ahead.
No, because the funny thing is, I'm actually more concerned about it the other way. By that, what I mean is this: I'm more concerned when I'm out at the bar, just drinking my bourbon, and I just happen to be ear hustling someone's conversation. It's like, well, I go to therapy, and this really taught me. We had this conversation last week. It's really taught me like emotional intelligence. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, bro, that kills me, man.
So people who aren't necessarily checking in to see if the person goes to therapy as a form of growth and self-care, but people who are actually utilizing therapy, whether they're in it or not, to actually try to court or even seduce a partner into making them believe that they have this higher sense of self-awareness or whatever it is, in an effort to just kind of, let's be honest, take them to bed. That's the thing I'm always concerned about, because I hear it when I'm out and I'm just like listening. Like, there's no way a therapist told you that. You're just saying you're going to therapy because you want them.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Who leads with that at the bar? You know,
I done heard some things now. We gonna keep. I done heard some things now.
It's like emotional intelligence. Because again, earlier we were talking about therapy being trendy or pop psychology. Emotional intelligence, triggers, coping skills, right? People throw those words out there because we've all heard them now, right? Outside of therapy, even if you've never worked in behavioral health, you've heard it. So when you hear people say that, it just does something to you. It's like, oh, this is that thing that's been on my timeline, my algorithm, to where it's all like, now I'm hearing it in person. It's like they're saying all the things I want to hear. And the reality situation is they're saying all the things you want to hear because they probably recognize if they're smart and pay attention. You're probably getting the same thing I get. The dating culture is dictating it at this particular moment. So I'm going to tailor my language and my approach to whatever it is that the climate of dating is saying at this time, that are the buzzwords, the buzz things that will get me a partner for however long I have said partner.
Yeah, there's just a difference between, sitting in the classroom and passing the test, or going to Howard for 3 semesters, or matriculating. And I think when we get into this conversation about what's trendy and what's real, it's really being able to check in with people and not asking, are you in therapy, or have you arrived at this emotional intelligence like it's a destination, but having the real dialogue, like Dr. Vivid said, about what does your self-care actually look like, and talking specifically about practices. If you can't speak to me like that, I'm very clear that you just sat in the class. And that's it.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Go ahead, Doc.
With that being said, Dr. Vivi, you kind of touched on it as well. Do you all feel like everyone needs therapy? Everyone needs to go to therapy?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal that question. Yes. I feel like if you are
everyone, that's an absolute, brother.
I'm going to make a declaration of an absolute. Okay. Everyone by and large, more than likely needs to go to a therapist. It doesn't necessarily mean that anything's wrong with you. There are certain positive, using the word we used before, coping mechanisms that we probably should have been taught when we were younger that we never learned at all. You don't have to come to therapy because something's wrong. I'm saying, yes, everyone should go to therapy because there are many ways of dealing with anxiety. There are many ways of developing emotional intelligence to where you know which emotion you're dealing with to properly label it. There are many ways of dealing with depression. There are many ways of navigating stress. You can Google these things or you can read it in a book, absolutely. But coming to a therapy session to talk through that, to be able to get you to recognize what are those things that activate in you internally when you're stressed, anxious, or depressed, using those common ones, like the way you think, what emotion does it turn into where do you feel it in your body physiologically, and then identifying how do I want to be in those moments, and then coming up with ways of being authentic to the way you want to be in those moments. So I would say yes, everybody not only should go, they deserve it. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong, but there's a lot that you can learn and gain from it. And it's not even just you for yourself. Like you might just getting ready to enter into a new relationship. Hey, I just want to make sure I'm processing things right before I go into this relationship. Well, what does that look like for you? What does the goal of being a new you in your relationship looks like versus in the old relationship? I saw B-Dot shake his head because there are introspective questions that we're trained to ask that you might have already thought of, but didn't know how to articulate or express. So yes, I think everybody should go. I'm not saying that everybody has a problem, but there are definitely things you can learn about yourself and things you can learn to heal yourself that'll help you grow. Because like Dr. Vivid said, healed is not a destination. It is an ongoing process. You got the person you wanted to be with. Now you're about to start a family. You about to being a parent is a different dynamic than being a partner. Then now you got to raise them to teenage years. Jesus, teenagers are a trip. Then they gotta go to college. Now they're leaving the nest. Those are different points in life where you can talk to someone to figure out, okay, how do I want to be now? I'm struggling. It doesn't always got to be a struggle situation. I just want to say that. So, as that foundation to your question, Kenny, I think not only should everybody go, everybody deserves it because there are different things that you didn't learn along the way of being to where you are in life that you can learn while talking to a professional.
I want to be controversial, but
Oh,
I want to
yeah.
be controversial.
Ain't wrong with
So,
that.
does everyone deserve to go to therapy? Yes, but some people just aren't good fits for therapy. Um, there's
Say more.
so, and let's say that first is there's more than just talk therapy too. I like to do. I have the word of the hour is portfolio. So my therapeutic portfolio toolbox use a lot of different things. So you can be doing art therapy, you can be doing narrative therapy that's allowing you to write, that's allowing you to rap, you can be doing movement therapy. It goes on and on and on, right? But there are some people, and this is you can tell what type of populations that I've worked with. There are some people who their personality types are not going to lend to anything but using that information to manipulate others with it.
Sheesh.
So you're not in therapy to work on yourself. You're in therapy to learn how to work people. And it's but that's where the clinicians, experience comes into play. And it's like, we're not gonna do this. You can fill that out. So it's a special group of people that
Yeah.
do things with malicious or manipulative intent. And you don't need to be in this space because you're just using it to regurgitate the things that Dr. Keith heard at the bar. You're using it to play games with a family member who is in a vulnerable space. And in this field, you will hear so many things and you will encounter so many different types of people. And I used to have that feeling of like, everybody deserves, everybody rainbows. It's going to change your life. And then you meet a certain set of people and you're like, oh, if not for this behavior and this personality type that is not malleable because of whatever reasons, you could, but you won't. But I feel like, that being said, I feel like everyone else you should at least try. You deserve to have a space to talk to someone, to process things, and it to not always be your friends or your family, because there's a certain level of bias there that it will persuade you to make decisions and then regret it, or make you feel like at the end of the day, you're not really living for yourself. You're living for the approval or living to go down the roads that other people are putting you on. So I think it's a great tool, but also, like I'm saying, don't just think of it as just talk therapy. You know, there's so many different forms of therapy that you can utilize that are effective, that are beneficial, and that can open your emotional vocabulary and your intelligence up to new ways of interacting with the world. And that can, you can have one. I've seen an amazing session. If you've ever worked with an adolescent who doesn't want to be there, it can be the most silent 50 minutes ever. But when you switch that person to, and a parent will be like, oh, therapy doesn't work, they don't need therapy. You switch the modality, and all of a sudden, this person has so much to express and so much to say. So and that's where I think some of us, especially Black folk, get into the bag of therapy doesn't work, or I don't need therapy, because you only tried it one way, and and that way wasn't a good fit for you. That doesn't mean the whole thing is trash. It means that your experience was unpleasant and it didn't make sense for where you are in your life, and you needed something that was a more accurate fit. I was controversial, but then I cleaned it up.
You did. You can't. Hey, it was good though.
Hey, Dr. Bill, I don't think you were being controversial, because it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Is like, I don't think you were being controversial. I think you were giving clarity, because if you're right, if that person's being manipulative, that goes back to, well, what are you here for?
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, it won't work if you don't want it to work. If you're here to manipulate, yeah, I receive what you just said. Actually,
I'm gonna be even more controversial.
Yes.
To what Dr. Vivid said, which she described, she's not wrong. That does happen, but the way my clinical brain is shaped is, you definitely need to be in therapy, because of the fact that, and I'm not diagnosing, but that sounds like to me very much a personality disorder.
That's what I was thinking when she gave the example. I was like, that person.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful with saying that on the live though, because then somebody gonna say it. I purposely didn't say it.
Understood. In this day and age where people can Google, I realize nothing's secret, because when one of my clients, and it was a creepy moment, showed me that, like, you could Google anybody, and they Googled me, my address, all that. I was like, well, okay, I guess all the cat's out the bag now. It's public knowledge. But those are the type of people I feel as though you definitely need to be in therapy, because if anything, because granted, working with those particular set of disorders is, well, you're a clinical psychologist, so it's different. But for the rest of us, it's a nightmare. It just is. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very difficult. A personality disorder is very difficult to work with. At the bare minimum, even though it's going to push you out the session, it becomes an opportunity on my end to say, look, based off of what I've seen over the course of our work together, you're going to have a very difficult time connecting with people. And then I'm going to read the laundry list of why that is based off the evidence that you've given me. And you can tell me I'm wrong and that I'm unprofessional. And depending on how far they want to go, report me to my board, because we know that's the direction those particular disorders can go. But at the bare minimum, you're going to hear it, because you probably never going to hear from anybody else. And you need to hear it on some levels, just for the possibility, even though I know it's very slim, to where, so if something I have said in that truth resonates with you, and later on down the road you decide you want to sit down from another clinician that's not me to really work on that, then wonderful. But you need to hear it from somebody, because if no one else is saying it to you, that could be a big problem. But to the original question, do I think does everybody need therapy? I would say in the perfect world, everybody would need therapy at some point, because if life is always changing and we're always changing physically, psychologically, our relationships are coming to an end, or they're starting up again, or whatever it is, you need a space at some point that you need to come and talk about those changes and what they feel like, what they're doing to you. And that's not to minimize the importance of family and friends, because those are spaces where you could do that. But coming into a place objectively to talk about those things and normalize those experiences and those things, as far as like, what does it mean to get older. What does it mean to have a child and struggle with parenting, or even love your child but actually hate parenting, right? Because some people don't even know that you can actually be in love with your child and want the best for them, but hate the whole experience and responsibility and the emotional roller coaster that is being a parent, right? Or falling in love for the first time, or love not working out. I think everybody at some point should work their way into a therapist's office, because I feel like at some point we're going to come across a problem to where as though our village will be there to support us, but our village might not be able to give us that perspective that could really kind of shift it and make us feel a little bit, make us feel empowered in a way that we didn't necessarily realize we could actually be empowered.
Yeah. Oh. Dr. Bell, you got, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I agree-ish with everybody. I feel like it's like, in my opinion, it's like saying like everyone should have a job, right? Like in theory, everybody should have a job, but they're going to be surgeons and they're going to be plumbers. And like it's different stuff. So I guess more in alignment with Dr. Vivian is saying, like, I don't know that I think everybody needs therapy in the way that we think of it. Like everyone's not equipped to come sit in our office and have this type of dialogue. Everyone's not fit for that. I do strongly believe everyone should dedicate time to themselves every week to do self-work and self-reflection in whatever way that makes sense for their own journey. And I feel like that looks so different for different people. And I think sometimes maybe the part that goes to the initial question about the trend part, I think is that we start to kind of push therapy. We start to get people in therapy that, like we've said, don't necessarily want to be there, aren't ready to do that level of work, and they are doing 2 sessions and dipping on us. So like therapy I don't feel like it's always the first level of intervention. I think there are other places that you step into that first when you're really doing some self-reflection and self-care and digging deep. And then therapy is usually something that comes next. I feel like it's almost more like intermediate work. Like I prefer my clients to come in and they've already not Google and TikTok necessarily, but they've done some reflective work. Some spiritual work, some yoga, some meditation, some somatic practices, something that they bring to the table that they're like, you know what, I've gotten to this point and now I'd like to join with you. So maybe that's my own bias because that's the way I like to work, but I don't know, agree and disagree.
A lot of great opinions. Appreciate y'all. I love hearing it. My curiosity, I'm not gonna let it win today. I'm gonna try to get all this while I have you all. So my next question that I kind of want to go towards, okay, so not being specific, but we are all Black, and my platform represents, millennials, but I do speak to a lot of Black and brown students. I connect with a lot of Black and brown people. I'm not limiting the information to this, but I want to ask this. A lot of times I see or hear people that feel like they are in situations, but they're good. This is happening, but I'm good. Do you all believe you could be mentally healthy, but in a toxic environment, or there has to be some level of detachment from said thing in order to keep your mental health stable? So can you be good, but in an environment that is not healthy? And I'm not using toxic as a trend word. I mean like true toxicity. Like this is not conducive for a healthy mindset. Can that person be good and be in that environment consistently?
You mean America? You mean this every day? We wake up. You mean this? You mean World War 47?
Yeah.
I mean, good is subjective, especially for Black folk. In Black language, we can say good in different tones and it means different things.
Facts.
So and a lot of us have been taught by our elders that if it ain't killing you, you good. Like, or you have this job, you have this relationship, you have the things you want, you're good. And we're trained to hear good. As long as there's something there. But I think that when we talk about like I don't know how the rest of my colleagues feel, but I love that you brought it up, like the toxicity. I'm being dead serious when I'm talking about this country right now. For the last couple of weeks, I have to have some of the same conversations with my clients over and over in different iterations about waking up and feeling some type of way, whether it is pain from seeing the things that are going around, whether it's the annoyance and the fear from the things that are going on, loss of job, loss of life, all of these things happening. However, they got to get up, go to work, take their kids to school. So in that instance is good. That's not good. That's like just surfing. That's just like existing. The problem is good is like subjective for survival. Like it means I'm not dead to some people. And I always question, okay, well, you good, but I don't ever ask people like, oh, you good. I say, what you need? Because that gives me a lot more information than you telling me that I'm good. Yeah, you can. The person who puts on that 3-piece suit, goes and sit in that C-suite office and has everything that you think you could want, can go home and not feel good, you know? So it's really understanding that some people, have been kind of indoctrinated or kind of beat down with the sense of you can't let people know when you're not okay. You don't have that space. That we're millennials, the same people who like, what you got to be sad about? What you got to be this about? Like, we have been trained to not think about our emotions in a certain way because you better go to work. You better depress that bed. You better depress that essay, whatever it is, you have to function. So I think sometimes when people are saying good, they're saying, I'm still functioning. But they're not even saying that they're functioning at their optimal. They're just moving, they're just moving along. And also, I think that right now, so many things are going, I'm speaking specifically to right now. That's just a knee-jerk response because everybody has something going on. So I don't want to really go into detail about the fact that life is swinging on me every day. So I'll say I'm good. And also it's a way to get people up off you. I'm good. I tell my clients, I say, practice. You know how you say, hey, how you doing? And people say, I'm fine. I say, for one day, I want you to practice saying exactly how you doing and watch how those conversations change. Because I do it. Somebody be like, how you doing? I'm fine. I be like, man, these kids driving me crazy. I don't understand. Like, why would they put 2 games on the same day? And she ain't cleaned the room. And they're like, why are you talking to me? You asked me how I'm doing. And this is how I'm doing, Like, so we're not comfortable with that. So I'm good is a way to push off people's discomfort and just to allow us to say, okay, I'm still doing. If I'm good to somebody, that means I'm worth it. That means all of this is worth it if I'm still functioning. And that's not the greatest way to think because a lot of us will sit through trauma and then start becoming desensitized to some of the things that are going on because we are taught to just focus on the fact that you good, you fine, toughen up. Mm-hmm.
See, that is a tricky question because one way my mind goes is like, well, one, what's the environment, right? So some people have toxic work environments, but because home is healthy, their spiritual space is healthy, their friend circle is healthy, they're able to navigate work, go in there and just look at it as that. Like, y'all just a drop in the bucket. That's my life. Y'all give y'all, a matter of fact, it's just a place I come to finance said life. Y'all just one section. Y'all not going to drive me crazy. Right. But then you got some people where all those environments are toxic. Right. And then also you have to take into consideration people's innate and learned behaviors and strength factors. Right. It's how some kids grow up in the same household that's extremely toxic. One has this self-determination that they're going to get out of there and be successful and be as healthy as they could possibly be. The other one completely succumbs to it. So it's one of those things where like it's just really subjective and it's difficult. But for the most part, I would say that it's very difficult to thrive in a toxic environment if you don't have a support system, if you don't have a lot of those internal factors that make you more resilient and stronger, whether they are innate to you or whether they're taught. So if it was a client, I would say or assess like, okay, well, this is a situation where I'll give you an example. Had a teenager who was in a toxic household environment. They did not meet the level of removal by Child Protective Services. The only option that we really had was they were going to have to age out of the house. That was the only option. There was no running away. There was no going to a shelter. You are going to have to age out of this toxic situation. So it becomes working with them to figure out, okay, what are the skills that we need to put into place within yourself to help you navigate, manage, get up out of this toxic situation when you hit 18 and walk across that stage, right? So it's one of those tricky questions where there's so many factors to where so you can't really say, yeah, you can, or no, you can't. It just really is a case by case basis. But overall, when to generalize, I would say the likelihood of thriving in a toxic environment is very slim if you don't have the proper things put in place.
Keith stole my. Well, that's why we're related, and because that's the first question I was going to ask was define toxic environment for me, because it's a tricky question to answer, and my answer is going to sound like Keith. I think that you shouldn't conflate the word good with surviving. Like, I think Dr. Vivek's example was perfect. Like, we're being conditioned to survive and quote unquote saying, nah, I'm good. I can power through this. But my answer is going to be not over time. No, it's going to wear you down depending on what that toxic environment is. Like, for instance, well, I'm not even going to give an example. Everybody, my answer is going to be no, not over time. Whether you suppress it, even if you have a good family situation at home, it builds your resiliency up the night before and on the weekends. But I'm using work as an example then to make it more succinct. That's 8 hours of cortisol and stress. And then y'all are trauma bonding at work. And then we don't even know what the other things are going on in there as well. So I would say that there are people who've done it, right? They've done like all these years at this terrible job, but look at the toll it took on their emotional and mental well-being, their stress levels. They're probably sick every day or trying to figure out why now all of a sudden after 20 years, I'm having heart issues, gastrointestinal issues, things like that. Over time, at an extended period of time, I'm going to say, nah, can you power through it during a short duration? Yeah, of course you can. But then as I said that, it made me think about when it depends on your why. When your why is strong enough, your how becomes a lot easier. Like for those who were like in a situation where this is the only job I can get right now to feed my kids, your why is strong enough. It's still tearing you down, but it pushes you through. A lot of people do things with the people that's connected to them. But to answer the question that you both asked, I'm going to say you can survive it, but it probably, if it's for an extended period of time, whatever that toxic environment is, whether it's at home, at work, home and work, or church, because church hurt is real, it's gonna take a toll on you if it goes on too long unchecked.
Yeah, I would add, I've worked with the kiddos that you talked about, Keith, and the only option is to get them graduated and having a plan for what's next. And then also remembering people that are in domestic violence situations in their homes, and it is not safe or an option just to leave, right? So getting them mentally healthy enough, which, you know, is kind of what we're talking about, but they're creating mental wellness within that toxic environment to get strong enough to leave the toxic environment. It takes some work sometimes. You can't just always flip a switch and get out of there. It takes a lot of work when you're in a domestic violence situation to feel strong enough, resilient enough, safe enough, rooted enough in yourself to make that move.
So I got a question that's kind of, Dot, you have one?
For me, it's just that toxic word, and I'm a kind of piggyback off of Dr. Lakieth and Dr. B. Like, I immediately went to work when I read this question, and the toxic word is what stood out to me. If you're getting toxic in small doses or you getting it in big doses, either way, it's going to take a toll on you. With those small doses, it's just going to take longer. For some people anyway, it's going to take a little bit longer. But like I said, I thought about work, and for me, it's like, I got to be here. Y'all just paying my bills. I'm coming. I'm going to get this small dose of this toxicity. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm moving on. All right. If everything is good at home, I could deal with that for a while. Now, if I got toxic in both places, then I'm probably gonna have to be calling one of y'all for some therapy sessions or something. But if it's small doses, I think people deal with it longer. But it's the toxic word. You gotta no, you cannot.
You know, bro. My thing is, bro. I think that is such a unique situation because of how much time you spend at work. So I'm with you, but it's like when you spending 40 hours there and you mixing and mingling in this place that long every week, Monday to Friday, you spending more time in that environment than you are in the healthy one. So it's like I feel like after a while, after a matter of time, it's all about like, you know what, we might have to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like we might have to get up out of here. We're not able to. I don't know. I just don't see that if it's toxic, even if it's just at work and everything else is healthy. You did say it'll take a toll, but over time, it's gonna be time to go. It's just what it is to me, in my opinion, because eventually I ain't gonna never get this. It was many, many pods ago. Somebody said, I can't date you if you hate your job. And I thought they was the craziest person. I was like, what? Who considers that? And they was like, if you start hating your job, you can start having attitudes on the way home. You're going to have your decompression time get longer. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what type of day you had, is going to, rule the energy of the house. I understand it now. But my question to you all is in the same realm.
Hey, can I add something to what you said?
Oh, go ahead, brother. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
for sure.
yeah. But even then, like both of you are right? Like, B-Dot, yours is right as well, because that you don't just spend 8 hours at work. That drive home, most human beings, like most people, don't really compartmentalize that as well as they think they do, right? Like you said, when you said you get home, you gotta decompress. And then the reason why work came to mind, or work is a more simple example, is that's 8 hours a day. That's 40 hours a week. You're going to spend more time at work than with your family. In some cases, when you get home after traffic, especially living in this area, if the kids got a game or something like that, they're going to sleep. And work is also one because it's a stressful environment if it's already a toxic environment. And everybody done had this moment at work more than once or twice where y'all got one more time. Just talk to me like this in here. Like it gets to
Alexa,
that level. Yeah, like literally, like everybody's been at a job where it's been, you got one, I don't care about these bills, these kids will be okay. That's how stressful that work environment got. I just want to throw that on there because you both are right. Like it depends on it. Like the question is tricky because it depends on a lot of factors. Like what's your home life versus what your work life is. And then Dr. Bell brought up a good point too. The domestic violence situation is a very toxic environment. So then like you may look at work as a safe haven or a break from your home life. And we didn't even talk about like from a teenager's perspective. Well, Dr. Vivian and Keith brought up the example, I believe. Like there's teenagers who are living their home life is toxic, and heaven forbid they're going to school and getting bullied as well. But I just want to say both that example you two brought up it's a valid one because work is just the easiest example to go to when you think of toxic environment because most people aren't doing what they thought they were going to be doing in life. And then when you go to work and you're dealing with other people, even when you got something sweet going on, it's always a handful of people that just want to mess it up for everybody. So it's just easier to jump to that.
For sure. So I don't want to be this guy. I heard somebody say this. Dr. Bell, this is actually going to come to you first because I actually heard. So we got one more question before we get into this bro code. I heard you say earlier, if I recall correctly, like instead of asking someone, Dr. Vivid said it, and then you piggyback. It's like instead of asking someone, or maybe you said your clients come this way, like having self-reflection, basically therapy being an intermediate step, or how you taking care of yourself, or things of that nature, versus are you in therapy? Do you think self-care has made us selfish? And let me explain. Like I'm not going down the line. I get the premise of self-care, and this thing is like, okay, you got to be selfish to do self-care. Is there a level where you can prioritize that to the point where it's not a good thing anymore, where it's just you over all of the things? Has self-care and people, the way they have used it to kind of do what they want, whether it's helping them or not, has it become, or can it become selfish in a sense? Or is it always good if you're taking care of self-care first? So Dr. Bell, I'm going to have to throw that one to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anything else, right? Like going to the gym is amazing. Everyone, if you're able, should work out and take care of your physical body. But if you're at the gym 3+ hours a day every day, and you are neglecting responsibilities at home and at work because your gains are at the top of your list or whatever the case may be, like that becomes problematic, even though it's obviously a good, positive thing. Self-care is the same thing. If you are using that as a shield to hide behind to avoid other obligations or responsibilities, and I think sometimes maybe people are using it maybe a little bit as a smokescreen instead of just saying, no, I don't want to do this. And they're just kind of blaming it on like self-care instead of just setting boundaries instead. I think that's super problematic. But to the way you started the question, sometimes you have to be selfish to prioritize your self-care, but it's still priorities. And you have to be able to reconcile all the priorities and responsibilities that you have.
Yeah. Because before one of you brothers go, and the reason why I said it, Dr. Bell, and this is probably a little, I hate when people like, this is going to sound bad, but I mean what I'm saying. So I'm sorry. Like, you know, when people be so gun-ho on like, oh, it's about my peace. Like, don't disrupt my peace. My peace is everything. In my experience and my observations, those tend to be the least peaceful people that have that boundary about keeping their peace. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I really want to know, in you all's experiences and your all's observation, can that peace word, as I'm doing this self-care, can that be subjective if this thing is helping me for real? Because when people, I'm gonna be real, when people jump out with that, I'm like, okay. Like when you jump out hard, I'm like, okay, you're not that peaceful in real life. It just sounds good. So is that a thing? Okay, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your question, Ken. I'm sorry, man.
No, I mean, I was just going to repeat it. So you good.
I think that in that example you gave, protecting your peace, it depends on like, I'll say it because I have this with clients in therapy sometimes. There's a point where you need a break, like solitude to recharge, recoup, refresh, especially after a tough relationship or like a bad dating experience or a string of bad dating experiences. There comes a point where your solitude is now your barrier. Like you're too afraid of connection because the last one hurt you so bad. And I think that this is what Dr. Bell was alluding to, that it's no longer helping you heal. It is your crutch to be alone. You know, like any sign of, we're overgeneralizing red flags at a certain point while protecting our peace for fear of going back to being hurt again. Like the slightest thing and I'm out. Okay. Like, you didn't even allow the person to give context. You didn't even probe. You're so worried about being hurt that now the isolation has become a barrier in that regard. So I think that protecting your peace in that sense can become a bad thing because you're too fearful to go back out and get in the world and try to build another connection or a positive connection or whatever it may be. But that also shows where you are in the healing journey, and you'll get there when you get there. But I think that was the question you were asking, Kate, is that does that become I don't want to say it's selfish. I'm gonna say it's not helping right now, depending on if connection is the goal. If you're stuck in that space where you're just not ready, then you're just not ready. That's fine. It's not incumbent upon me to tell you what your healing looks like by and large. But if your goal is like, I want to connect, I want to get back out there, but then now we're overly protecting our peace by severing everything at the slightest red flag without any real like probing, then no, it's now the problem.
And I'll add into that, I've encountered several folks that are protecting their peace, but it really is avoiding accountability. Like it's like they have thrown a little bit of a grenade into a situation, and now it's time to kind of be into the rah-rah about it, and now they got to protect their peace, and they can become real peaceful, real Gandhi-like. But you kind of wanted the smoke at first, but now you don't want no smoke, and now you're protecting your peace, and now you're like on your healing journey, and that's problematic. Yeah, that's problematic.
No, keep going, Dr. Bell. I was just ad-libbing. You keep doing your thing. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's problematic, and I think we have to call it when we see it. I have to be really direct with clients, especially as I'm talking because I told you I've been doing therapy all day today. So we had this conversation, a couples counseling session today. Young lady felt like she was protecting her peace because she disengaged, and she felt like it was a very positive thing. She disengaged from that fight because she was protecting her peace. She started the fight. And then she just that was the end of it. And that is a
Yeah.
lack of accountability. So we have to be really mindful when we see people doing that. While it feels like you're trying to protect your peace, really what probably is happening is you're feeling yourself become dysregulated and you don't know what to do with that. So you want to disengage from the situation. We can call it protecting your peace, but you're avoiding, and you need to regulate yourself so you can engage in the conflict that you probably started.
So, Dr. Bell, may I ask you a quick question? You don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
Okay.
In your experiences and your observations, have you ever seen accountability be avoided by more gender than others?
Hey, I was going to do the same.
Don't do that.
I'm gonna give my
answer.
Question.
Have you just in your experiences and your observations, have you ever seen accountability
on that point, Keenan? I have no data to support
Yes.
where you're going with that.
Okay, all right. I was just, I'll just throw it out there. I was just throwing it out there.
Well,
nope, I got nothing.
Keenan, I will say this. There's no data on it. My anecdotal experience of doing couples therapy. I will say this. I don't think this is controversial at all.
That means it is. Go ahead.
Fine, and it might be. I won't call it accountability. I will say that I've noticed that when it comes to in couples counseling, my female clients, there's an issue with being wrong. Like there's a huge, I really actually want to study it. There is a huge visceral, like emotional and body response when my female clients, when we're in couples counseling, feel like they're wrong. It's like a huge defensive block sometimes. And then I even point out, I'm like, why? How come we're getting so defensive? And I've learned this from doing enough couples therapy is that men and women, it usually goes this way. When a woman's fight or flight system kicks in, the male kicks in as well, but it's more flight. Men fawn. Fawning simply means that they kind of dial it back, like, all right, never mind, you got it. Okay. No, you win. Whereas women will get more ramped up. And then it's a huge emotional response. And I want to say that I see that in couples counseling a lot. It's like men are more willing to kind of sit back and be like, that's their way of avoiding it too. It's kind of like they'd be like, all right, never mind, you got it. And now I have to pull them back in. Like, well, no, like, what do you really feel? Well, I didn't know you felt that way. Whereas with women, it's almost like, no, that's not it. It's this, and that. It's a bigger fight in that regard. And I've often been curious as to how come there's an issue when it comes with women and being wrong. Like men, I don't know why I'm not saying all men, but men fawn in those moments. They'll be like, all right, big dog, you got it.
I think women have a really complex thought process.
Say that again, Dr. Bill. I want to hear what you
think women have a really complex thought process when it comes to engaging in these conversations. Even getting a simple response from a female, whether it's a romantic partner or a client, we're not often giving very simplistic responses. And with our male clients, we often do, right? So for a woman in a therapy session to be able to boil down all the things that she thinks and feels into a direct accountability of, you're right, I was wrong. I agree that is less often. I mean, I did this today where, but really what we got down to is that she felt incredibly invalidated and unseen in all the other things that she was trying to explain. So eventually the words "I was wrong" were not used, but there was some accountability that showed up as he was able to identify, recognize, acknowledge is the word I want. And he was able to acknowledge the complexity of everything that was being said. There was spaces that she was absolutely wrong, but she needed all of those pieces. Like you couldn't boil it down to just this one bite. Like I think that really is what it boils down to. And you made a really good point, Dr. B. In those sessions, the lack of accountability is happening on both parts. It just is more visible with the woman, right? There's a little more facial expression, a little more neck rolling, a little more hands, perhaps. And with men, it is the the like slowly that Homer Simpson meme where he's like disappearing into
Going back into the joint. Yeah.
yeah, that's what you're seeing with the dudes. You be like, "Hello, are you with me? Are you paying attention?" And it's the same dysregulation that's happening. Like you said, they're just going about it in different ways.
And also take into consideration that sometimes people can't see that when you're fawning, that you're trying to de-escalate the situation. That when you're already in a high volatile state, it can come across as like, oh, so you really don't give a whatever. So I'm gonna say some things that's gonna get you in your feelings because I'm not about to be the only person in this scenario or in this situation who is just worked up, because it feels as though if I'm worked up and I'm upset, I'm emotional and I'm upset, whatever it is, and it's just a case of you like, okay, you got it, then it can come across as like you're placating me, or you're being condescending, or you're being whatever. And even sometimes you may not even trying to be. It's just, I think it's just what it is that we expect in communication when we're very emotional and we're very frustrated. And then even when we come down from it, we still feel justified, because even if we're in our rational mind, we still understand what happened, the emotion that got triggered and why it led to it. And we still feel as though we're not wrong.
Yeah, to that point, like what Keith and Dr. Bell said, that's the reason why I didn't use the word accountability, because like in an individual setting, what the average person would consider quote unquote accountability, women do that there. Like if you point out a contradiction in what they said in one setting versus another, they'll actually go, no, I didn't think of that. That might be the problem. But it's something about, and I think Dr. Bell helped put it in context for me. Maybe it is a more intricate thought process in that moment, because I always like to shape it as not necessarily just accountability. It's just there's something about being wrong in this setting that like, nah, I'm gonna burn this whole thing down before I'm necessarily proven wrong. And I always found it fascinating. But in individual therapy sessions, no, it's both men and women are willing to what by and large what people would call accountable. They're willing to be held accountable. It's just something about that daggone partner. Like, nah.
So y'all gotta forgive me, man. My questions you too, bro. Forgive me, man. I've been asking to get. I've been wanting to get these questions off for years now. So I got it. So based off what you all said, I have another question. In an environment in which y'all both spoke on couples therapy, right? What's the balance, or is there a balance between understanding where the perspective of the other partner, or the person needs to feel validated whether you understand or not?
You ask that again. Ask that.
So like in a disagreement, we're trying to get to the bottom of something, right? I feel like 90% of things are perspective based, right? I think a lot of times we get caught up in trying to prove our perspective versus trying to validate the other's experience. You get what I'm saying? So in those instances, is there a delicate balance between you all see of people need to understand the other perspective, or people need to validate that other person's feelings? Is one more important than the other, or do both got to happen in order, and you all's experience for things to push forward?
I wouldn't say.
Does that question make sense?
It does. No, it made sense the way you explained it the second time. I wouldn't say one is more important than the other. I would say that it depends on the two people, not to scapegoat the question. Like, depending on who's dealing with what personal issue, validation may be really, really important, right? Like, especially if you have like borderline personality disorder, like validation is a big part of it, right? I just want to lay that as a foundation. But I would imagine that in a perfect world, there's a balance, right? The reason why the way you said it, I feel like is there are times where people are just trying to get their perspective across. Like, I don't think you're hearing me. Validation doesn't mean that I agree with you. It's a way of confirming that, no, I see how you got here. Based upon what you just said, you A, B, I see how we got to C. That's what that is. That's what validation ultimately does. I see your perspective and I see why you made that choice. Now I need you to hear my perspective. I feel like in a perfect world, it would be that balance to where, okay, I'm acknowledging where you are. Now I need you to reciprocate said acknowledgement. Because in a relationship, you two look at reality. You two have to look at reality as close as possible. You don't got to agree on it, but it's a shared understanding. You and your lady have to look at this situation, whatever that's this situation with the kid in this moment. I want to look at it this way. Well, I want to deal with it this way. Well, we need to find a way to overlap those things so that way the next time this happens, we now have a shared understanding versus I told you I wanted this, I told you I wanted that. I'm trying to make him out to be a man. No, you being too hard on him. I'm not being too hard on him. Or, like you babying her. I'm not babying her. It's my daughter. It's my princess. We need to be able to share those perspectives, validate them, and then get a new way of looking at reality. But to your original question, Keena, I would think in a perfect world, it is a balance, but it also depends on who needs what in that moment. You, even if you two are having that conversation, you have the right to tell your partner, look, I just need you to hear me right now. Like, let's just slow down because I need you to hear me. I need you to see my perspective. You can even say, I just need you to validate it. That don't mean you agree. Just tell me you see where I'm coming from. Because sometimes, I just need to know, am I tripping? Am I crazy? Like, don't judge me right now. Just tell me like, what's going on. Like, I'm feeling judged. Or it's like, no, I don't want to share. I want to better understand your perspective. Help me see what you're looking at so we don't run into this again. So in a perfect world, balance, but it also depends on who needs what in that moment.
I would say in any relationship, you have to have both. But one, there may be periods of time when one supersedes the other, but you need to have both because otherwise, in my mind, I would be thinking to myself, well, where's the accountability, right? So by that, what I mean is this. If I am just dead wrong, I need you to call me out and say that I'm dead wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it can't be a case of just you validating the feeling or saying nice things. It's just a case of saying like, yo, I'm just giving a dramatic example. Yo, you yelled and you cussed at our 10-year-old because you were upset. Well, yeah, I was upset. They just really get underneath my skin. It's like, yeah, frustration is a real thing. Having a 10-year-old is frustrating, but you cussed at our 10-year-old. I don't care how upset you are. There really is no justification of that. I can understand how you got to that point, but you're just dead wrong in this scenario, this situation. So it does definitely have to exist, but it also kind of has to, in a weird way, depending on the situation, one has to take precedent over the other just based off of what the situation may dictate. Like, I can understand how you got to the point of cussing at our child because you were upset. But with that being said, though, I'm not going to super validate those feelings because if I super validate them, then it really does become a place where you feel as though you were justified in that action. And in the reality situation, you were dead wrong.
Yeah. So
I have a client that a couple that I work with, and there's a lot of power imbalance in that relationship. And I think that kind of, like I think Dr. B was saying, it depends on the couple, right? So because of the power imbalance, the female in the relationship is, and I see it, she's consistently bending. He has a lot of really rigid expectations, and she is bending to all of them. And it could be something, our last session, we spent an absorbent amount of time about where the coffee grounds are supposed to go. A real thing, really deeply moved by these coffee grounds. And
wow.
that is one of many
people
things.
really argue about stuff like that.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And pay me to listen to it. But that's one of many things that she feels like she's like just never getting right. You know what I mean? And like, if I didn't compost the coffee grounds the way that so when she's on one and she has been like the person that has been injured, she absolutely needs that validation, and it has to go a certain way. But the first time I saw it, it was very clear before I understood all of the spaces that she is bending. It was very clear that there was a power differential that was happening, which is why she craved that validation so much. So to Dr. B's point, it is going to be kind of specific to what the relationship needs and can possibly show you where your deficits are.
For sure. All right. Well, appreciate y'all on all of those questions and all my curiosity. So we're going to get this one bro code. Then we're going to get y'all up out of here, man. So Doc, go ahead and bring us home, brother.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna get into this bro code. My question for us tonight is, one of your bros is clearly going through something, but keeps saying I'm good every time you ask him what's up. All right, bro, I'm good. I'm good. Do you push him to open up to you, or do you respect his space?
I want the professionals to go first.
It depends on which friend I'm talking to, and then not to escape to go to question dot because you like your like I don't want to say like your kids, they're not your kids, but you handle your friends differently because you know what they can and can't handle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have friends in my life, and matter of fact, we talked about this on our podcast. I have friends in my life that they'll go through something, and then they'll come to me when it all falls out, and I'm like, why didn't you come talk to me sooner? And they'll say stuff like, man, you do this for a living. I didn't want to bother you. Like, do you know how many people on the street get free therapy out of me when they find out what I do? They'll stop me like, hey, man, what do you think about this? You have a direct line to my personal phone, not my business number, and you're not using it like that. Yeah, don't do that, brother. You robbed me of an opportunity to be a blessing. To answer the question, though, I don't think it's good to push anyone because we don't know what they're dealing with, right? Which is kind of like the issue because it could be something of a traumatic nature or really, really sensitive or personal nature. I think it does come down to creating a space for them to come and talk to you, like doing little check-ins, like, hey, look, I'm here if you ever need to talk. It seems like you have a lot on your heart. It seems like you got a lot on your mind. How come you're not opening up or pointing out observations you notice? Like, you don't seem the same. Your energy seems low. How's everything going at home? Because if you keep pushing people, I'm gonna steal something Barry Sutton taught me a long time ago. That's our dad. He said, Brian, if you push somebody long enough, you're just gonna push them out of your life. Because now they're stressed every time they see you because they're worried you're gonna ask. I would think that is my approach in my life when I've had friends that had issues is that I always just let them know. I don't say how are you doing. I let them know, hey, I'm always here if you need to talk. I'm a good listener. I won't say anything back. I'm just here to listen. That's it. I feel like that approach helps, especially when it comes to men, because men we prideful. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm a man myself. I get it. There's certain things where you feel like you just need to take care of it on your own. You need to. I got to figure this out. But we also, as men, got to learn that we too have a tribe as well. Like what would one of my closest friends, I love him to death. He's literally like a brother to me. There was a time where he didn't have a job and he eventually got one, but he was late on his bills. I was about to cuss him out when he didn't ask me for any. I'm like, why would you not call me? It's like, man, I had it. I even had it. I don't want to hear none of that. I have it stuff. I ain't asked for any of that. I don't know. You should have called me. I don't care if it was for rent. I don't care if it was for groceries. I don't care about none of that. But I can see where it comes from. But we also internally, like for anyone listening, we also have to learn how to be vulnerable enough to receive help from the people we trust the most. I would have never judged him in any type of way. But then I had to make sure and ask myself, did I convey the message enough to him to be like, hey, man, you ain't got to pay none of this back. I don't care about any of the other stuff when you need it. So to answer the question you asked, if you've seen somebody and they seem down, they're like, I'm good. I wouldn't necessarily take the approach of, well, what's wrong? I would just take a different approach of saying, I'm always here if you need me. Because if I keep pushing you, I'm going to push you away. And then you're going to start avoiding me because you think that I'm just going to keep probing. I'm here whenever you need to talk, whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with doing a little checking. Hey, but are you good though? Yeah, no, I'm good. All right, cool. But I'm here. I see you again. You seem the same. Hey, man, how your spirits going? Man, I'm good. Well, look, I'm not going to press you out. Just know I'm here to talk. If you ever want to talk one-on-one, call. So that's how I've approached it in the past. But it really does bother me when they don't call. I'm like,
I'm your peoples, man. Like,
yeah, like I'm exactly. Real quick, because this is a passionate topic for me. Just think about it. How many of y'all on this platform has got a good friend that if they was going through something where you are in life right now, even if it was just a talk, how upset you would be at them for not calling you?
Yeah, I honestly enjoy what you got me, and I'm gonna be honest with you.
Say that again. I couldn't hear you. It muffled.
I said, I honestly enjoy when beat out don't call me, man. It'd be a little break, man. I don't be want to hear all that, man. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking, bro. I'm just joking. You're right, though. I do get upset about that, though. I'm like, bro, especially if we talked and you didn't bring it up and we talked in this time span when you were going through it. I'm like, dog, we sat on this phone all that time and you ain't. That's what gets me. That's what gets me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, in my experience, when approaching difficult topics, the one thing that's always, I don't say always, I would say 95% of the time successful is when I come to people, particularly close friends, and I come at it from a lens of concern, how much they're willing to open up. So instead of like, instead of going at it like, well, you've been tripping lately, or like I heard from such and such, if I come at it from more from a space of, so look, I know you and I've been observing you. This has been happening. This has been happening. This was happening. And I know you're going to tell me that you're good, that everything's fine, but I know you well enough to know that's not true. And I'm really concerned and I want to help you. But of course, that has to start whenever you feel comfortable talking to me. So this is my way of letting you know, come talk to me. I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to harass you. But I take the not harass you part because I know me. I'm not going to harass you to the point where I'm annoying. But please believe we're going to come back to this conversation within a certain time frame because I really want to make sure that you're okay. And from my experience, whether it happens initially in that moment, 2 weeks later, a month later, people circle back around and say, man, look, I've been going through it. Finance, relationship, family, their own mental health. When you present it to them as like a genuine concern and you're concerned about their well-being, that just does something to people. Even your closest friends, because sometimes, let's be honest, we can take our closest friends for granted. Like, we know they care about us, but we forget, like, yo, you really care about me.
Yeah.
As it's not just a case of you're gonna be the best man in my wedding. We gonna go out here. We gonna live like we in our 20s again. We gonna take a guy's trip. We going to the man's cave. We going to whatever. Like, you really care. As in, like, when something's going wrong, you're instinctually paying attention to me. Or if someone reaches out to you to say that something's happening with me, you are actually willing to like have that uncomfortable conversation versus saying like, well, and let's be honest, it does happen. Well, if he ain't say nothing to me, I ain't gonna say nothing to him.
Oh yeah, that does happen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Well, I just had this happen with one of my inner circle people, and not a bro, but my good
I know.
sis.
Yeah, I got you.
My good sis,
Mister.
right? My good sis, and
We're inclusive here at MVW.
yes, we love that. But long story short, something was clearly going on, going through all the motions. We're brunching, we're going to concerts, we've done all the things, but the energy's different and it's off, and you just seem different. So to everybody's point so far, broaching the topic of not asking, are you good? I think in therapist land, we just don't ask questions like that really, but really just kind of saying, like Keith said, like reflecting back, like, this is what I actually do see, and I love you. Are you in need of anything that I can provide? Answer, of course, was no. Cool. Keeping the point of everything that everyone else has said, just know that you are loved and I am here, whatever that looks like. In therapy, we can't force people to talk about things they're not ready to talk about. It's not healthy or good to force people to talk about things they are not ready to talk about. I take that same approach in my friendships. That is not a conversation she was ready to have. There's more processing that she needed to do to be able to even formulate the thoughts to have that conversation. And there's always, not always, but very often, there's some shame. There's some stuff that's going on around that. So just thinking you can beat a conversation out of somebody is delusional. And when she was ready to talk about it, she did. And she only told me what she wanted me to know. There's a whole lot more to that story than what she shared, and I'm aware of it. However, what we were able to do, to know me is to know I hate talking on the phone. So I was on the phone hostage, hour, 15 minutes in talking. And I'm like, okay, put me on speaker. She puts me on speaker. Go to your app store, goes to the app store, download Soundermind. You don't know, Soundermind is a platform where you can find a therapist that day. Upload your insurance. Let me tell you about the different, you put in your parameters of what kind of services you're looking for. Sis has a therapy session tomorrow at 10 o'clock. because that's what support looks like, right? Like that has been going on for probably all of October. That's been going on, and she wasn't ready to talk. And I know that the dialogue that we had, even for an hour plus, is the tip of the iceberg of all the things, right? That I'm not her therapist, I'm her friend. And like, so let's usher you into a safe space where you can have that conversation with somebody else. And we found a wonderful Black clinician that I hope is going to work out and be great.
That's dope. What's the name of that platform again?
Sounder Mind is
Sounder Mind.
Yeah, there's another one called Headway, but they're both kind of platforms where therapists can log on and create a profile, and it's almost like a dating app for therapists. Like you literally are like sliding through profiles and checking out pictures and bios, and match, don't match, whatever.
Yeah, I would say I agree with everybody. I'm gonna be a little more. I don't have the credentials to be. There ain't nobody coming to me calling me saying like, "Hey, why didn't you help me?" I would say this one thing. I agree. I feel like me and my friends have a good rapport of conversation. It only becomes hard if we're around each other a lot and you allude to going through it a lot, but you keep alluding to it, but not wanting to talk about it, if that makes sense. We're in the space a lot together. We're moving around. Everything is cool. You look like, yeah, man, it's a little rough, man. Life be lifing. Cool, I get you straight. Yeah. Time number 2. Yeah, man, it's a little rough, man. Life been lifing. We get to time 4, 5, or 6, and you keep saying that. It's hard for me not to. I'm going to be transparent. It's hard for me not to ask, like, hey, bro, is everything like to push to open up? I'm not going to act like I don't do it because we're talking about it, because we've been around each other multiple times and it's come up multiple different ways to the point where, I feel like you want somebody to check in on you. You may not know all the tools. I do think the word push is aggressive, but I am going to ask, because I'm not going to say, tell me everything. But you're not going life in 7 times in a row, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's cool. Life do life. You know what I mean? That's my only thing. I'm not gonna say push, but like, all right, bro, you said that twice. I'm gonna let them first 2 ride now, because you don't know what people are going through or how they handle things behind the scenes. So for me, it becomes a thing where you're making it known that you're having a tough time. As your friend, as Dr. Lakieth said, as your friend is someone that cares about you. You may not open up to me, but I'm gonna push you somewhere, because now you've made it known that you got a lot going on, and you may not be handling it as well as you may perceive. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I feel like if you are saying life be lifing, life be lifing, life be lifing, I would feel like you kind of want me to ask, is everything all right? You know what I'm saying? Like you would want me to kind of push you to open up a little bit. But I just want to add, because I agree with everything that all of y'all have said. Know your personnel. These are your people. We speaking of bros and sisters and people who are close with you. You know how they're gonna respond to certain things.
Facts.
You can't go to that friend that is not gonna respond well to you being pushy. Don't be pushy. You know what I'm saying? Leave the door open. Hey, bro, I see you. Seems like something's off, whatever. I'm here for you when you're ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, how to, well, you should know how to address your friends. All right. Some people be giving hints, life be lifing. Go ahead and press them a little bit. Hey, bro, open up. What's up? What's going on? You good? Some people don't want you to be down, breathing down their neck. Let them be, but know your personnel. Know your people.
For sure. All right. So, man, first and foremost, man, appreciate you all tapping in with us, man. Dr. B, Dr. Lakieth, Dr. Bell. All their information is in the bio. If you go to the bio, you can click their links to get to these good 3 panelists. Do have a podcast, Forest Therapeutics on YouTube, Forest Therapeutics on IG. Do y'all want to shout out y'all? Dr. Bell, would you like to say your tags? It's up to you. If you don't, it's okay.
Sure. You can follow my business page at Heart to Heart Wellness Center, or my personal page at Love Glenn Bell.
Dope. Dr. B, Dr. Lakieth, would y'all like to say any of y'all acts outside of the ones that I just mentioned?
Those are good. You can follow me at I think my name on IG is Dr. Brian Sutton.
Mhm.
I think my name on TikTok is Professor B. I don't know. Just look for just type in Dr. Brian Sutton on IG, and I think it's Professor B on TikTok and Brian Sutton on Facebook if you still use that thing right there. But Force Therapeutics is our home, and if you ever need help, you ever need a therapist, always shoot us an email. Click on our website, go there. We'll get a member of our team or one of ourselves to take care of you because we do this for our community. We do it because we love our community. This is why we are here.
For sure, for sure. Dr. Lakieth, how about you, brother? You got any other ones you'd like to share?
Just my IG handle, which is at Dr. Lakieth Sutton.
For sure. All right, man. Appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Make sure y'all take a second, subscribe to the page. It's your boy K. Mims. I got my bro from last name Loyalty B. The best wellness professionals in the land. Dr. Vivid on earlier, Dr. B, Dr. Lakieth, Dr. Bell. This is MVW, and we are out.
You are now tuned in to the Realest Podcast.